it's a lot of cultural shock when you first move in the United States. It's not a pleasant environment, especially for, I was 28 when I first moved in. Everything is different, so it's a shock, it's a shock. It takes time to adapt the American culture and environment. Once you adapt the culture, it's going to be very good. But the first time, it's very, very difficult. You know, the service, the Orthodox is the same. We just use the same Bible, the same scripts. However, we're not strictly doing the same thing like Ethiopian does, because, for example, like in order to do the service, we have to have at least 5 priests. But in this case, we don't have 5 priests because first, we don't have enough priests. At the same time, we're not able to afford to hire or bring more priests. We cannot worship every day. In Ethiopia, for example, we can worship probably 20 days from the 30 days. But in this case, the priests work, the deacons working, all of us working during the day. So practically speaking, we're not coming to church every day. Just the only time we can come and worship is just Sunday.
In order to travel back home, you know, it's really expensive. And my kids are now 13 and 11. I'm not able to take them until now, you know, because of the expense. But here, they can see the purview, you know, what it looks like, you know, what we do at home, holidays, and how the elderly and old people would dress, and how we eat together. You know, all the cultures is basically when you walk to the church, it makes you feel like you're home.
For the first 10 years, St. Mary's Ethiopian Orthodox Church worshiped from rented space in the basement of a Greek Orthodox church.
And in 2000, between 2000 and 2001, the church community raised money and able to buy this building. So we own this church since 2001. And since then, we haven't made a lot of improvement. As you know, the church used to be a warehouse, but we converted into a church. I think at the time, the board member, they were not aware of the problem, and they don't even know that this premises is not connected to the main source system to 92nd. So nobody has any idea. And at the same time, I think for the first 8-10 years, the drywall hasn't had any problem. There was not any flooding problem. But somehow, back in 2008, we start seeing this problem.
This was not a spiritual problem, but a very practical one. The church members finally had a place to worship, a church in their new home. But the practical realities of life in their new home interfered with their spiritual practice.
Well, most of the time, the heaviest rain is like November. We start around November, December, January, until by the end of February. Like the 4 months, we will have, like, I mean, every day almost a pump here, and somebody, as soon as it rains, and we will say, you know, we will communicate, Tadala, if you got by there, go ahead and, you know, turn it on, and we turn the pump on, and we start pumping the water out that way to the street. And then a lot of times it was very difficult pumping out the street because during services, people will come in and they just run the hose, and they tear the hose down, or they run it over by car, and then get another hose or tape it up. It was a mess for it, you know, the last 5-6 years. But the water scatters most of the paint mark around and all the way to the storage, and all the way back to, you know, even to the entrance, because so the whole, this will be like a big swimming pool, will flood all the way to that end. And it takes about, with a pump, it takes about 3-4 hours if it's just full. But if it's raining in there, sometimes you just set the pump in there, you just let it go 24/7.
There is a dry well, a vertical pipe that drains water from the parking lot and allows it to seep into the ground.
We spent about $9,000 to maintain this drywall in 2009. And after a year, it came back again.
Unfortunately, the size of the parking lot and the roof gutters, the amount of water coming off those surfaces was more than could infiltrate into the dry well.
One of the solutions that was suggested by a professional was either dig another drywall, which is a support of the existing one, or connect the source system to the main source system towards 92nd. Both options was not an option for us because we didn't have the money.
Through the city of Portland, members of the church found Depave, a local nonprofit that tears up asphalt and replaces it with gardens and other green space.
So right now it's a great big parking lot. There's very little green space, a little bit of grass, a little landscaping, but it's mostly all asphalt. And so what we're doing is we're cutting out a big portion of that, 2,000 square feet, to build a rain garden. And this is going to help solve flooding issues at the church.
The rain garden will absorb all the water that drains off the church roof and parking lot and save the church from flooding, even in heavy rainstorms.
Depave does a number of different types of projects. We've done almost 30 depaving projects around the Portland area since 2007. So that goes from stormwater infrastructure like rain gardens and bioswales to community garden spaces, school learning gardens, and a variety of other types of community green spaces where the community has access to the space to use it. People often ask us why we're doing it the hard way and why we're not just bringing a backhoe in and doing it with machinery. That's kind of besides the point, which is to get people involved in the space, excited about the transformation, and to become stewards of the space over the long term. So we host these big, fun celebrations. 50 to 100 people can come together on one day and participate in remaking the site by prying all the asphalt up and helping us get rid of it.
So what's known as impervious surfaces, roads, parking lots, we drive our cars on them. They collect oil drippings, they collect little bits of copper that rub off our brake pads. And those things, when it rains, those things wash into our streams, including into Johnson Creek.
In the last few years, salmon have been discovered in Johnson Creek for the first time in decades. But water draining from the streets and parking lots puts their survival in jeopardy.
There's a study in near Seattle that has shown that the copper filings from brake pads, the little bits of copper, actually get into the streams there and disorient migrating salmon.
One of the things about stream systems is that they're connected. I mean, the sort of truism, you know, we all live downstream or we all live upstream. That's true, that's directly connected to the water coming down here. And so if we can address water quality farther upstream, that's probably, let me guess, 7 or 8 miles upstream. If we can address water quality in a small way upstream, we actually are benefiting the work that we have done down here as well, the habitat work we've done down here. And on the flip side of that, the salmon that are coming up, migrating upstream, getting ready to spawn, they benefit from this project here at the mouth of the creek, and then they travel upstream and they benefit from the work that's done at St. Mary's Church. So it's all part of the same system, and it's all connected. And I think that that's important to keep in mind. And keep in mind that every little bit helps and adds to the improvement of the system.
After the rain garden is designed, Depave can start preparing the site.
First, we cut the site with a big walk behind diamond blade saws. We cut it all up, and then we host the depaving. We have a big group of people come in and pry it all up and put all the asphalt into dumpsters. So it's a lot of heavy lifting, but with teamwork, it goes pretty quickly and it's a lot easier than it looks.
even I do a lot of exercise. Like I don't have to go like 24-hour fitness. These things for our community, even for our church, is very good and then very important. Especially, you know, our kids, they came here, they play sometimes around here. So they were not safe because of the way you saw earlier before you destroyed this stuff. But right now, when we finish it especially, oh yeah, it's the best.
I think that the biggest thing about Depave for me definitely is the community building aspect, that it's very rare, at least in my life, in my kind of 9-to-5 job, that I get to meet new people and kind of come out and do something very physical with a bunch of people from super different walks of life. And I think one of the best things is having kind of longer term volunteers side by side with people that are doing Depaving for the first time, and especially a lot of people from the site. So you get a lot of just interaction with people from the community, and it's a great thing to kind of create more green space with a big emphasis also on creating awesome community space through community.
A few weeks later, a contractor comes in and removes a few feet of ground with a backhoe.
It's the really tough work that's hard to do by hand, and it's not nearly as fun as busting up asphalt.
And then new topsoil is added.
And then that follows up with planting in the fall once the summer is gone and the weather's cooled down, and plants have a better chance of getting established when it's cooler. So that's why we wait till the fall to plant something.
I have to thank you for Matt, Eric, and Melanie. So especially these three people are extremely generous for their time, effort, and as I said, they are very sympathetic towards our community. So we learn a lot. You know, this is just a privilege. We are so happy. The priest, our Archbishop from Seattle, all other people are very happy.
I've been really impressed by the diversity of volunteers who have come out. It's been really cool seeing Depave volunteers and watershed volunteers, and then the folks from Lents, and then also the church members. It's really felt like a great partnership, and sometimes with 4 partners all working on the same project. I sort of expected a too many cooks in the kitchen problem, and we didn't have that. It's been wonderful working with everyone involved in this project. So I think that's something special.